One of the camera assistants, I remember him asking me like, hey, Julio, you busy? I'm like, no, what's up? You mind grabbing that slate over there? You want to hit some sticks for us? I just said, oh, okay, cool. And so I just started slating, and, I'm starting to learn a little bit more. I'm like, oh, what's this? Well, about it, yada, yada, yada. And the DP, I think, kind of noticed, because I remember he asked me, he said, are you having fun doing this? I was like, yeah, what do you mean? I feel you're having a lot more fun when you're slating and you're on the camera than you are in the AD department. It's getting the end of season 1, and one of the other assistants asked me, hey, have you talked to Jimmy? So apparently Jimmy was telling people, if we get a season 2, I want to get Julius in a camera.
Welcome to The Practical Filmmaker, an educational podcast brought to you by the Filmmaker Institute and Sunscreen Film Festival, where industry professionals talk nuts and bolts and the steps they took to find their success today. On today's show, Julio Zepeda gives an inside look on how he went from PA to camera department in the local 600. I'm your host, Tanya Musgrave, and today we have LA-based camera assistant Julio Zepeda. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Okay, so I might have stalked you on LinkedIn first. You went to school for history. Is that right?
I did.
Okay, so from history to Hollywood. Tell me about that conversation in your head that made you pivot towards film, specifically the camera department. How'd you get here?
Interestingly enough, so I played sports. I played football in high school. And then I went to community college. I got into San Francisco Art Institute coming out of high school. I went to go visit with my mom. I didn't really like it, the visit that I did, and I just, I think it was a lot of fear, and I was working almost full time at that point. It's just been my mom and I since I was about 16. Just side note, my dad got deported.
Oh.
So when I was about 16, 9th, 10th grade.
Wow.
So it's just been us. Yeah. So it's just been us two since then. I was a front desk agent at a Hilton in San Gabriel.
Wow.
So, and then it was a time, to try and go away to college. And I wasn't really sure, like most people coming out of high school, I think, wasn't really sure what I was going to do. So when I go visit, we did that day trip to San Francisco. I didn't even meet with the counselor who was supposed to walk me through. I just kind of walked in by myself. We were super early, and I was walking with my mom and a friend of mine. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't think I can do this. I don't think this is for me. It's a really tiny school. I love the city, but this is, well, let's go back home.
Yeah.
We're out of here.
Yeah.
I was the first one in my family to go to college. We didn't really know what the whole financial aid situation was like. I just remember the letter being, there was something like, family contribution 0. And I just didn't know what that meant. I was like, does that mean I'm going to college for free? I don't understand. So, came back home, and we decided that, community college was the way to go. So I was at community college. I graduated high school in 2009. I was at LA Valley College down the street from my house. And then fall of 2012, I tried out for the football team. I was on the football team for 2012 and 2013. And I remember getting a couple of emails from some schools that were asking me if I was interested in pursuing, collegiate football.
All right.
My plan up till then was I figured I was going to try and find my way on a set.
So you already knew about film. You already were kind of...
Yeah. My mom was a janitor at Universal Studios for about 25 years.
Okay. All right.
So I always knew about set. And I remember even being as a kid, I was like, I'm going to be a movie director someday. I had no idea, what that meant or anything like that. But I just remember as a kid, I would say that. I was still trying to figure stuff out. I was at community college. I was playing football. And I was working at Starbucks at that point. Coach Kerr, I'll never forget. Coach Kerr was our head coach. And he was very involved into what we were all going to do while we're studying. And my whole thing was like, I don't know, hey, coach, I'm just gonna, keep playing football, and maybe I'll try to transfer, to university or something. I don't really know, but my plan was not to get any kind of degree. Really, it was I'm playing football, I like it. We'll see what happens. And he said, I think you should try and get an associate's, get a degree. And I was like, well, and it was kind of the situation where, what do you like? What classes have you taken the most of? And at that point, I had taken a lot of history classes.
All right.
And we're finally getting there.
Yeah. All right.
I really enjoyed one of my professors, Professor Rick Murray at LA Valley. I hope he's still there. And I had so many credits in history. I was like, oh, well, okay, I can get an associate's in history. Fast forward to season's over, I'm getting those emails of, people saying, do you want to come play football? And I remember asking Coach Kerr, hey, I don't know how these people got, because I didn't really play that much. I was second string. I played a lot of special teams. So I wasn't like a big time baller or anything like that.
Okay.
But some schools, 3 schools, I think it was like one in Oklahoma, one in Missouri, and one in Illinois.
All right.
And I remember asking Coach Kerr, do you think I can keep playing? I remember him telling me, he said, I wish I tried to get you more on the field. I think you're a really good teammate to have in the locker room. You bust your ass in practice, but there are some players who are better than you. But I think if you want to keep playing, I think you definitely could. So it was Division III, and I was like, well, let me look into it some more. And I chose a school that was the closest to a big city, Rockford University in Rockford, Illinois. It's about an hour and a half west of Chicago.
All right.
I was like, okay, you know what? I can do this. It's 2 years. They were paying for 1 year, and I was going to pay for the other.
Yeah.
So it wasn't too bad. The closest they had to like media and entertainment was theater. I didn't really know much about theater. I didn't want to get into theater. So I was like, well, you know what? It makes sense for me to do history. So that's how I went to history. But the whole time I kind of knew that I was going to get my degree. I was the first, it'd be the first in my family. It's an accomplishment.
That's awesome.
I knew in the back of my head, I'm like, well, I'm just going to be on set. Like I'm going to work my way into set once I get back home. And then winter break came home, and my mom at that point had picked up a side gig on the back lot. So she was still being a janitor, but it was after her like 9 to 5, so to speak, was over. She would go clean these kind of trailers and like honey wagons, offices of this non-union daytime talk show, which is called Home and Family on the Hallmark Channel, which is where I met our mutual friend BJ.
Hey, yeah.
So, she said that, and it was funny, she was telling me like, it's in Spanish. She's telling me like, oh, hay unos muchachos aquí, no sé qué hacen, siempre... Like, hay diferentes y andan corriendo. So basically saying, like, there's these young people here. They always see them around. They're always kind of running around. They're like, they just, I don't really know what they do, but they're always coming in and out. There's a few. And in my head, I'm like, sounds kind of like a PA. I think you're describing a PA.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I knew what a PA was, but I was like, well, it sounds like a PA.
Yeah.
So I came home for winter break, and I helped her to go clean the offices one day. And I met the production supervisor, I think is what she would be, or production coordinator of that show.
Okay. I
told her, I want to work on set. I'm home for winter break, this, and that. It was kind of like a weekly trial. She, this was a Friday, and she said, you free Monday? I was like, yeah. She goes, okay, be here at 7. We'll see. So I went in and I worked, and I'm stuck in the fridge, I'm on the radio, basic PA things.
But yet something that you're so stoked to do. I mean, like, your first time on set can't compare. It's just like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It's so much fun.
Yeah, exactly. I know, it was fun. It was a straight 12, which is kind of neat. Most PA gigs, you don't really know. I mean, you assume it's going to be 12 or 14. Yeah. But on this show, I was lucky. It was a straight 12, and you kind of knew every day, the day-to-day of what was going on, the happenings. Yeah. So Willeen asked me, she said, Willeen, are you free tomorrow? I was like, yeah. She goes, okay, come tomorrow. By the end of that week, she was kind of like, yeah, you can keep working here. I think we have a place for you if you want to keep working here.
Nice.
And I was like, okay, cool. And then went back to school, went back to Illinois once winter break was over, and I finished my semester, came back home to LA, and then that's where I started working. So this was summer of 2016. Okay. And I was working on Home and Family on the back lot. That's
yeah. So Home and Family on the back lot, being a PA, how did you kind of pivot to camera department?
I was the key set PA on a show called SEAL Team, 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, 2017 is season 1. Been lucky enough, I had been PAing on a few shows. I got staffed on a couple of shows. I left Home and Family. I didn't get flown out to, but I was lucky enough. I put myself up. I went to work in Atlanta on a couple features for a summer. Came back home, and some ADs and PAs who I impressed when I first started working, they would always call me, and they were like, hey, we have a show coming up. Do you want in?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm in Atlanta. Yeah, I know, right? It was like, I'm in Atlanta. When does the show start? This, and that. And I think, I don't really know what, but it kind of pivoted from, come in, like, send me your resume. This, and like a week later, I was like, look, Julio, the job's yours if you want it. Like, when are you back in town? I was like, oh, okay, I'll be back home soon. So SEAL Team is a 9-month show. We're working on that. And the first show I ever staffed, 2 of those camera assistants on the first show I ever staffed as a PA, they were on SEAL Team. So I knew I was friendly with them, and I was just kind of, I think as a PA, I was always friendly with everybody. And I was also the walkie PA, getting to meet everybody. I'm turning in radios, I'm collecting out times at the end of the day. And I walk around, being the key, you just know everybody. And I was lucky enough to be friendly with everybody, and it's kind of a big family over there. That show is so crazy, the nature of it. We carry so many cameras, and I was always in the middle of set. One of the camera assistants, I remember him asking me like, hey, Julio, you busy? I'm like, no, what's up? You mind grabbing that slate over there? You want to hit some sticks for us? I just said, oh, okay, cool. And so I just started slating, and I'm starting to learn a little bit more. I'm like, oh, what's this? Well, about it, yada, yada, yada. And the DP, I think, kind of noticed, because I remember he asked me, he said, are you having fun doing this? I was like, yeah, what do you mean? So I see you, and he had long hair. He moved it out of his ears, and I feel you're having a lot more fun when you're slating, you're on the camera, then you're in the AD department. I was like, yeah, I think so. It's like, okay. You know, it's getting the end of season 1, and one of the other assistants asked me, say, hey, have you talked to Jimmy? If you want to look him up, or anybody wants to look up, the DP for SEAL Team is Jimmy, or James Michael Murrow.
Okay.
Jimmy was the Steadicam operator of the 90s.
Okay.
He worked on Titanic, Heat, LA Confidential, Terminator 2.
Nice.
He was the DP on Crash. Big guy.
Just little indies here and there.
Yeah, Steadicam operator on Dances with Wolves. So yeah, Jimmy's great. So apparently Jimmy was telling people, if we get a season 2, I want to get Julius in a camera.
Hey.
And in my head, I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. You know, but I think up to that point, the way I wanted to do it, because I was getting all my PA days. At this point, I had, maybe 200 PA days. My whole thing was, I'm gonna join the DGA. I'll be an AD. I'll be a working AD for however long, and then when I'm not working, I'll be writing and funding my own projects, shorts, yada yada yada. But the camera opportunity came up, and then season 2 came around, and I was there as the key set PA again. But the whole 9 month of season 2 was kind of like, how are we gonna get Julio in a camera? And I was just really lucky. I had a lot of people, a lot of support.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah. But, you did ask me like horror stories. Little side note horror story is, and this happens, I think, for anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
You get people that support you, and you also get people that don't. And I had no names, but I had an AD who didn't support me. So it was kind of like pulling teeth, and which I also get. I had been there before. I did all of season 1. I knew everything. I knew everybody. So, and it was new ADs coming in. So it kind of makes sense of like, whoa, if you're going to be replacing yourself, we're losing a value, which I understand. But, it's also, there's a different way to go about it. But, hindsight, it all makes sense. And even then I was just kind of like, well, I get where she's coming from. But, it was, like pulling teeth trying to get my camera days. But slowly but surely, I ended up with 18 camera days, I think, as a digital utility.
Okay.
And then that show ended, and it's like, well, how we'll figure it out, right? I had the support from the DP, all the camera assistants, my first AD, the showrunner. Everybody was just kind of like on the same page of like, we got to get Julio in a camera.
Yeah.
And then I was PAing, I was day playing from when that went down. And there's sort of, anybody who's interested, there's a loophole sort of into the camera union.
Everybody is interested.
There is. So I got in as a digital utility.
Okay.
And digital utility is what they call a non-rostered position, which I don't think anybody really knows what that means yet or as of now.
Yeah.
But as a non-rostered position, basically you could just pay to join.
What?
And I found this out. Yeah. I found this out from another utility. I was day playing PA on the morning show, and I mentioned to that utility I was trying to get in, and he looked at me. He's like, dude, just join.
What?
And I said, what do you mean? He said, just tomorrow. This is the best. And he told me, we were working in like all nights in downtown LA. He's like, this is the best thing you're going to hear this week. Just call the union tomorrow. We have a late call and join. I was like, okay, all right, let's,
What?
So I got up early. I went down to the local, and I was asking questions, and, somebody at the front desk, she just gave me like a business card, and she said, call this number. They'll be able to help you out better. So that whole next day, I think we were at the Biltmore on set, and I was like in a deep lockup, and I was like, all right, well, let me call, what's going on? Let's see what this is all about. And, I'm just talking, I'm basically pitching myself to somebody. I'm like, look, my name is Julio. I've started to get some digital utility days. I just want to know how, like, I keep hearing conflicting things. Like, I need 30 union days. Like, some people say I don't. Like, I just want to find out exactly what's going on. And, it was kind of like an interview process, it felt like. And this guy on the phone was like, well, what do you want to do? Because I think you should go to the rental house. What that means basically like Panavision, Keslow. Those are like the 2 big rental houses. So, at rental house, they have what they call prep techs. Okay. And a lot of people did come up that way. You would go work as a prep tech for a year or 2. And then as you're learning the gear, but you're also making these connections, when somebody calls you like, oh, hey, like, this is Julio, what's up? You say, hey, Julio, this is so-and-so, we need help with this, and you start making those relationships. A lot of people who are prep techs, they come out of there, when they're ready to move on, they talk to the assistants that they've been talking to for however long. Say, hey, I'm trying to get on the set, like if there's ever a chance. And that's kind of how a lot of people came out. Yeah. So this guy on the phone was telling me, you should be a prep tech or this and that. We want you to know that the union isn't here. Unfortunately, we're not here to get you work. And we also don't want to take your money. But if you have people that will hire you, then I can send you the application, this and that. was like,
Yeah.
I was like, I literally turned down a job today because I'm not in the union yet, and I'm scared to like keep working. So
Yeah.
give me the paperwork. And that day they sent me the application to get in as a digital utility. They have payment plans because it was a lot of money. You know, I did the payment plan. I put it on a credit card, and that's how I kind of started working in camera and digital utility.
Oh my gosh. What?
Yeah.
So no, like not even days.
No, I mean
Stop.
you need the days for safety classes.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. It's like a catch-22.
Yeah.
Because you need 30 union days to take your safety classes. You can't take your safety classes unless you have 30 union days.
What?
So, yeah. I got lucky. My first camera show, I think the office was kind of maybe not up to speed on everything. And nobody checked to make sure I had my safety classes.
Oh my gosh.
So I was good to go. And this stuff happens, you know. I feel bad saying that, I guess, but it happens because I did a show. I did one day on Stumptown, an ABC Disney show.
Okay.
And I couldn't go back because I didn't have my safety classes.
Anybody I feel like that I've had on this podcast that I've asked about union or this or that, I mean, I feel like everybody has their own like loophole how they got in, and you know, that
100%.
kind of thing. And you're just like, all right, I could try that, but you're just like not set up in a certain way to get to that loophole yet. But you know, like I don't know. So I mean, I'm fine with it.
100%. And I've even talked to people who have been in, you know, for a few years, and it's like, you know, a second that I regularly work with, he was working as a non-union second AC, but he couldn't get in. Like he had the days, but first it was like he struggled so long to get in, and he ended up getting in as a digital utility also. And, you know, for me, it was kind of a painless process. And even as maybe a month ago, I was working with a camera PA. There's some shows out there who do, and that's another way to get into, I think. If you know you want to get in a camera, if you're interested in getting in a camera, you know, some shows do carry a camera PA. And I was working with a camera PA, and I think he's really good. And I was like, dude, you should, like, I mean, I was coming in replacing as a utility, but I felt that was like his show. I was like, dude, you should be the utility on this. I should be the additional. Like you're teaching me so much about how this show runs because you've been on here the whole time, obviously. But, you know, and he's learning and he knows that's what he wants to do. He was asking me for my opinion. He said, do you think I should join? I'm like, dude, absolutely. You should join right now. Call the union. And same thing. He called up and basically they sent him the paperwork that day. Dang. So he joined. Dang. Yeah. So,
all right, like before and afters then of being in the union, like Local 600, I mean, obviously you can get onto these, you know, bigger shoots. I mean, and you started out on like some pretty big productions, like, you know, for Hulu and like HBO and NBC and, you know, all that stuff. So like, was that building up to the union, or is that like after? Like, how did you get on the sets before, or was it just as a PA then?
That was as a PA.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was PAing from, say, summer of 2016 to summer of 2019.
Okay, yeah.
Summer 2019, I joined the union. Fall, I did my first camera show, and we were at Panavision Woodland Hills. We were prepping a pilot, and then COVID happened. So
just in time.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, then it's like, oh, I'm back to square zero. Like, I'm going to forget everything I learned. Like, geez. You know, but I think everybody, you know, I talked to one of my camera friends. He was like, no, it's okay. We're on the same boat. Like, he was working on commercials when things first started opening up again.
Yeah.
And he was like, dude, don't worry about it. Like, I mean, I literally showed up. I don't even remember how to fill out a daily anymore. Like, it's going to be okay. I was like, oh, okay. But things have been, you know, ramping up again. And I've been lucky so far. This year, so
yeah, that's good. So things have started back up for you and like for everybody again, yeah.
Yes, yeah. There's a lot of, and it was funny. I told you I was listening to your Jason Roberts episode where, and he mentioned about how things will, you know, because of streaming, like things will just kind of like blow up. There's going to be, I mean, there's so much work right now.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, it's that thing where just Monday, I think this Monday, I got a text in the morning. I said yes to a job. It's kind of like 2 weeks of work spread out until the end of this month.
Okay.
An hour later, I'm getting hit up for a travel job. Like if I want to go to Seattle, if I'm available. And I was like, why didn't you just text me an hour ago? I would have gone to Seattle in a second. You know, he was right. Like there's so much work right now. But kind of bouncing around between shows is a little bit hard. At least for me, as a PA, I loved staffing. Like I hated being on different shows like at the same week.
Oh,
Like,
really?
I
Didn't
was
like
in for the
that
long haul.
variety?
Yeah. No. Yeah, I'm in for the long haul. Like I did,
Okay.
I did 9 months of a show and left that like a week early. I did 4 months of another show and then lined up right again for the next 9 months of the next show. Like I was working
Okay.
nonstop.
Steady as she goes.
I was,
then. Yeah.
yeah. I was lucky enough. Honestly, it took a pandemic to slow me down, I'd like to say. But,
Well, I was actually kind of curious, about that pandemic and like the things that are different, if anything has changed so much. Because there's so much COVID protocol now. Has anything specifically changed for your department? Things that you didn't necessarily think of, like, oh, I have to wear a mask and it fogs up this thing that I have to do with the camera. I have no idea. But like, is there something that kind of like changed for your role specifically?
All the shows I've been on have kind of been the same to various degrees, I guess. Some shows, I will have to admit, are a little bit more strict than others. But there are, I don't know if you've heard, there's different zones. There's like a red zone, a blue zone, and like a yellow zone, I think, or green.
Yeah.
So like red zone is actors, directors, camera operators, some camera assistants. So basically, if you're in the red zone, you're allowed to be on set. And then you're also wearing, we're wearing the face mask, of course.
Yep.
And there's some shows where they require, if you're on stage, you're wearing the face shield. Which does fog up events sometimes, but like honestly, I've been fine with it. It depends on the person. And then other shows where it's like you don't even see a face shield. Unfortunately, It's like, oh my god, like come on, you guys. The one thing I keep on thinking is because of the face shield and the face mask thing, when you're building a camera, sometimes you just don't have enough hands, so you just put something in your mouth. Like I'll put a flashlight in my mouth and I'm trying to light what I'm doing, and that's been like the hardest thing I found so far. I'm like, oh, you're trying to find a way. That's like the first thing I think of. There's also, I think there's been added work. A lot of shows are now carrying like what's called like a video playback or a video assist. So somebody who helps with getting video to the various video villages. So as a digital utility, that's kind of my realm. I make sure that the monitors are set up for a director, writers, writers not anymore, but like a director, a script supervisor, a DP. So sometimes there's 2 video villages. But depending on the show, they have a video playback just because if you're more spread out, wireless only travels for so long. So they just have those people who are there to make that easier, I guess. So that definitely has changed where I don't have to worry so much about who's getting the feeds. So they have a video playback, people, video assist department. And there's also, they have a wireless thing set up where any like hair and makeup can now watch from away from set. Whereas before, my first camera show, we had 2 video villages and I think 2 what they call like mini monitors.
Okay.
So one monitor setup would be for like hair and makeup, and the next one would be maybe for like a props and costumes department.
Okay.
And then you'd have the video village monitors for scripty and writers and director, and then you had the DP village.
Yeah. You're essentially still zooming into work.
Yeah, I guess so. But now those writers are now zooming into work. I was talking to one of the showrunners, and I'm like, "Oh, are you the only one here?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "How's the office?" He's like, "It's lonely." So, and all nobody comes in. You go to the 4th floor of this building.
Yeah.
And there's nobody there. It used to be filled with writers, and the writers' rooms is empty, and everybody just zooms in and writes it all in.
Dang.
But so it's definitely changed. It's affected with the way, and I think for the better. I'm not so much stressed about everybody who's getting the feeds, the video feeds.
For you being able to be there, is proximity. I mean, I guess if you're able to watch yourself, it's not as much of an issue then. So you just kind of like wait out in your zone then, huh?
Yeah. So if for some reason,
like you just can't be like as accessible as you were before, or like do you feel like things are actually better because of that?
I think it's better because like a marking rehearsal, like everybody clears out. It's just actors and the director and the script supervisor.
Okay.
Whereas before it'd be like, okay, we're gonna rehearse, guys, and the crew kind of separates. Everybody's still watching, but now it's like, hey, rehearsing, you gotta go. And the DP sometimes on a show I was on, DP asks for something and say, hey, we're stuck outside. It's red zone only right now. And for some reason on that one, the camera department wasn't red, I guess, or the things that she needed wasn't in the red zone. I think it's for the better because it's like, oh, well, do I really need that right now? Or let me find another solution. And then oh, it turns out I can't do that by myself, or I can't do that for myself, or there's another solution to that, or I don't need that right now.
Yeah.
Whereas, before it's just kind of like, well, where's this thing? Like, bring it in. Like, we're rehearsing. It's fine. Just bring it in. And we would all rush in like, oh, here it is, So I think it is for the better.
Are camera departments, or like any department, is any department ever split between zones where you would have like at least, like you have your ACs and stuff, but maybe there are just like some, camera PAs that are all in like on the outside, or is just like all the camera department part of the same zone?
See, it depends on the show. There was Warner Bros. Show that I was on that was very strict. Everybody was red zone. So everybody was kind of lumped. You're testing every day. You're rapid testing as at your call time or when you show up to work. So everybody was lumped up together. And there was another show, it was a Disney show that I was on, where I think we kind of took it upon ourselves more so. But it was our loader, our camera PA, and myself, because we don't really need to be inside set. We're just always on the outside. Okay. And we did have a positive COVID test within the actors. And everybody, was informed of contact tracing. So it was the camera operators who were inside set all day, okay, well, you have to quarantine. The first ACs, you have to quarantine. But myself, the camera PA, and the loader was like, well, you guys were never really on set, so no, you're fine.
Gotcha.
So it kind of varies from show to show.
All right, gotcha. You've mentioned digital utility. I've heard camera utility, and I've heard assistant camera and then camera assistant. How about you clarify the differences for the newbies real quick, or if there are any differences?
Quickly, the DP, director of photography.
Yep.
You have a camera operator. First AC pulls focus.
Yep.
Your second AC supports the first AC.
Yep.
And what I've learned is a camera utility is mostly somebody who wrangles cable and works like live events, sporting events, or like stage shows. Okay. So you're mostly like you think your live audience sitcoms kind of thing, like Married with Children, Seinfeld, that kind of thing. Okay. Where I think you're wrangling cable a lot more. Right. Digital utility is new, so I think that's why they have that loophole. Yeah. From what I've heard, the digital utility has just been created like the last maybe 5 years.
Wait, so is that DIT?
Something like that?
Is that?
No.
No, it's not DIT.
No. DIT is a digital imaging technician.
Okay, all right. Oh, my stars. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So, and not every show carries a DIT. So DIT, the purpose of a DIT is to kind of help, either they prep the footage they add a little bit of coloring and they kind of make it easier for post-production.
Yeah.
So it kind of streamlines the process. And and that's also kind of interchangeable with a loader. But as a loader, you're just downloading footage.
Yep.
So a DIT can download footage and like prep it for, with like the dailies, quote unquote dailies, because, but a loader doesn't necessarily always do coloring and prep post.
Got it. Wow. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So, and then I think camera assistant and assistant camera, I think is just interchangeable, because we're listed as first or second AC assistant camera. Okay. But I wouldn't tell you, I'm an assistant camera. I would just say I'm a camera assistant.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I think it's just interchangeable. But digital utility is a little bit newer and, and not the same as a DIT.
So, and then you said that was probably the reason why like that whole loophole like existed.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, so get in while you can, folks.
Yeah, seriously. In the last maybe 3 months, or since like December, I've talked to 4 PAs who have joined as digital utility. I'm like, get in while we can, because they're gonna stop letting in. They're gonna stop letting people in eventually.
All right, so I remember. This is like story time. I remember like on a bare bones run and gun shoot, I had a DP who would create contact sheets with stills of what we'd shot that morning so the director could review during lunch. It was just something a little extra that he did, I mean, and I don't know, maybe that's standard now. I don't know, but it wasn't for me. It was awesome. And it was like that extra mile. What for you in your role, what creates the difference between a good camera assistant and an exceptional one? What is the uber lux of camera assistants?
Anticipating, I think. One of our second ACs who's kind of known everywhere. I mean, I've met people like who have worked with him in Mexico, in Korea, like all over the country. Like he honestly, like he's a pretty big name and people know him. He's always working. Yeah. But when he takes like a day off or anything, like he's so missed, because I think I think what makes him so exceptional is anticipation. and like prepping. So kind of being prepped for the day, anticipating where we're going to be, where the camera truck's going to be, and being able to also disseminate that information so we all know. So I think like anticipation and sharing information, like it's only knowledge if you share it. That's what makes the difference between a good and an exceptional AC.
Yeah,
because you're anticipating camera movements, or where we're going to be, where the gear is going to be. If we're taking all of our carts. And that's not it, like for me, I'm still learning all of that. It's like, oh yeah, maybe we didn't need the carts here. Whereas opposed to, he was like, oh yeah, no, just grab and dump, like,
Yeah.
And but that also comes from experience. I mean, he's been in the business for like 20 plus years. So anticipation and prepping.
Nice. So, all right, being organized has also got to be a huge part of your job. What is your mental checklist before you walk out the door?
I prep my bag for the day the night before.
Yeah.
So I just got to make sure I have my tool belt, and I kind of do like the phone, wallet, keys check.
Yeah.
Phone, wallet, keys. Okay, I have my belt's in the car, headset. That's good. That's kind of when I walk out the door. Oh, and coffee. You can never. This is just a personal one. I think what makes an exceptional camera AC, camera assistant, is if you make coffee. It's been harder now with COVID, allegedly. Nothing like a good cup of Joe in the morning or during lunch. Yeah, we're going side right now. This is a sidebar.
No, but like I still remember one of my guys who was talking about, he's just like, what I always do is I carry like their favorite granola bar in my ditty bag. Like that kind of thing. So like for their DP, they always kind of like spoil them a little bit.
Yeah, and that's from experience. You kind of that camera PA who now joined as a utility, Eddie Gutierrez Jr. He knew, so our DP loved Topo Chico. And just every now and then, the Topo Chico would just show up at her cart. And I was like, oh my God, this guy's great. Look at that. This guy's amazing. So that's why I'm like, this is your show, Eddie. I'm taking the back seat. I'm sorry you're only getting paid a PA wage, but like you should not be. This is your show,
just like
dude.
watching the master work. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. I was like, this is awesome. Like I want to keep working with him.
Yeah.
Today I'm working tomorrow. It's supposed to rain tomorrow. I got my weather bag. Your various clothing that you need for that. But yeah, coffee. And camera assistants just seem to love coffee.
Yeah.
If you talk to anybody, like, oh, we all love coffee. I don't know why. But that's what I wake up, the first thing I do in the morning, I have my little Chemex pour over. I grab my coffee, I weigh it, I measure it.
Okay, your pour over. All right.
Oh, yes.
So it's not just any coffee. This is not your just like typical. All right. So
this is a serious operation.
You have to also be like an artisan barista if you want to be in camera.
And it worked because I was working at Starbucks.
And it works. Hey, dude, it does work. I used to be a barista, like in my hometown. Your socialization skills, like all right, that totally comes in handy, totally.
100%. And I still talk to somebody. He's a writer, and he's kind of like an executive. He has his own company. He's an executive producer. I met him when I was a barista at Starbucks. And I told and this is when I was still playing football. And I was like, what do you do? He's like, well, I'm a writer. This and that. I'm like, how do I get on a set? And he was just nice enough. He was like, take my information. We'll talk some more. But I ended up going away to college, and I came back, and I told him like, hey, like Javier, I'm working on set, dude. What's going on? What are we doing? What are you doing? And we still, I kind of look at him kind of a mentor. He still gives me a lot of good tips. Nice. It didn't work out. I was a project being greenlit away from being Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu's personal assistant. Yeah. So this guy that I knew at Starbucks. Yeah. Fast forward to a couple of years, I would hit him up eventually. I'm like, hey, I'm working on set. He asked me. I remember him asking me. I was on SEAL team, and he asked me, hey, do you have a passport, right? I was like, yeah. He's like, I can't tell you what this is for.
This is always the most fantastic question to be asked, because then it's just like the most exciting opportunity is coming right after this.
Yeah, 100%. And he said, I can't tell you what this is for. And this is when I was still PAing. I was going to AD at this point, right? I was like, I'm going to be an AD, yada, yada, yada. I can't tell you what this is for, but I think, as a friend, I think this would be worth your time. Would you be interested in being somebody's personal assistant? They need somebody with a valid passport and bilingual. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm in. Fast forward to the end of that day, he's like, okay, so-and-so will reach out to schedule a meeting with Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu. Just be yourself, man. Like, be everything you've been to me. Like, just, and he'll love you. Like, don't worry about it. But I never found out what the meeting never happened. The project didn't go. But I think what the project is that I've read recently that Leonardo DiCaprio at one point was debating between Guillermo del Toro, Iñárritu, and Paul Thomas Anderson. And I think he chose Paul. So it was, that's
Tinseltown for you.
Yeah, and I still keep in touch with him, and that's somebing that somebody that I worked with when I was serving him coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's so cool.
Venti Americano. I still remember Javier.
That's amazing.
I think it was a Venti Americano. That was something that I wanted to convey to people. I think that where I am so far in my journey, I think I've gotten by just asking for help. And I think if you're yourself and you're honest with people and what you want to do, and even if it's like, dude, I don't really know, people are more willing to help than not. Like I've had people from so many different shows and like throughout the year. Somebody just hit me up like a month ago. I haven't seen that person for 3 years. And it's like, hey, are you free? You want to work on this? Like, oh, okay. It's just if you make a good impression on people and you're honest and yeah. Funny story, one of my best boy grips, every now and then he'll come up to me. He's like, you could have been a grip. So there was a point where he was really in with our line producer. And it was like, hey, Julio, what do you want to do, man? Yeah. I was like, well, I think I'm an AD. He's like, yeah, but what do you want to do? I was like, I don't really know, dude. He's like, you ever thought about being a grip? I'm like, gripping's awesome because through experience too, like you just find so many different solutions to problems on set. I think as a grip that you're like a problem solver. Oh yeah. It's sick. No, and I love a good like rig. The rigging grips. Like I always thought, like I partly wanted to learn welding just so I could be a rigging grip. Oh, wow. That's awesome. And the rigging grips, I feel like they don't really, like nobody really talks about rigging or rigging electricians. Like it's awesome. Yeah, right? Totally. And he told me, he's like, I can get you a few days if you want to, you should come try it out. Yeah. And it was also at that time where I was like, well, I think they want me to join camera. Like camera's cool. Yeah. And he's like, you could join camera eventually. You want to push dolly? I have a lot of dolly grips who ended up being operators and DPs. And I went with camera. Yeah. So he still gives me every now and then, or if he finds out that I haven't been working, he's like, you could have been a grip. He'll just walk by, I'm rigging up a camera, or he sees that I'm sweating or something. He's like, could have been a grip. He just walks away. That's amazing. So I think if you ask, a lot of people, even if they don't have the knowledge, are more willing to help than not. Oh, yeah. Especially, if you, like for myself, I have a lot of people who, like that camera PA who asked me for my advice. If I can relate to you, I want to help even more. If I see that you're hungry, quote unquote hungry. Yeah. To learn and to do something like, I feel like that was me. Like, let's do it. Let me try and help you out. Yeah, absolutely. And, even with the random, like the way I ended up working on union shows, I basically walked onto a set and I met the right guy. I had a couple of my resumes in my backpack. And I was like, hey, I'm working this show on Home and Family next door to you guys. You've been working all week. Like, I'm just looking for more PA work. And I still work with him now. We're in a group chat. We talk every day. Old Juan Lara. He was wearing a big sun hat. He like put his hands to his hips and he goes, I don't really do this, but give me your phone number, see if I can help you out. That's amazing. And by this was like a Wednesday. That Friday, my first day ever on a union set was like a 16-hour Fratter day on Animal Kingdom. Another like just random thing, kind of like this shoot your shot kind of thing. Yeah. I had a guy sent me a DM, slid into my DMs on Twitter, and he said, "Hey, is this Julio Zepeda, the one from Insecure?" I was like, what? Yeah. He's like, well, I saw your name in the credits. I live in LA. I'm trying to figure out how to get on a set. Like, I want a PA. Can you help me? Oh, dude. All right, props to that guy. I was like, really? Seriously? I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? I was like, let's go grab some coffee and like, sort of, let's see what's going on. So David Palmer. So we got coffee at a Stumptown in downtown LA and we chatted for like an hour. And I was like, look, you seem like you're smart. Give me your phone number. And, if anybody asks, like we worked and, it's kind of like fake it till you make it. Yeah. I was like, if anybody asks, you and I worked like on a music video. Like it's non-union. Nobody's going to check your, like, oh, really? With who? It's like, oh, we just did some commercial. Like, we did this AFI thing. I don't know. They're not even going to ask that. No. So where do you know Julio from? Oh, we did this thing. Oh, cool. Okay. And that's it. And he, David, unfortunately had to move back. He's back home in New York. Hoping he comes back to LA soon. Yeah. But yeah, I got him work. He ended up working on Westworld and like Mayans and, people hit him up. yeah, people are like, hey, is David still working? I'm like, yeah, I think so. Hit him up. But he's in New York.
Oh, dude.
So you try to pay it forward.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I'm actually more surprised just doing this podcast, like more often surprised than not at how willing people are to help.
Yeah.
When you ask.
But I get it. It is surprising.
It's not what you hear.
I guess so. I don't know. You just have to find the right person and don't be afraid of no.
Yeah.
What's the worst somebody's going to say? No.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right. So with technology being what it is another big part of your world, staying current. What are the best tactics that you found? Websites, subscriptions, social media accounts, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, social media like Instagram, Astera is really cool. They have a lot of cool lighting setups that they show on their Instagram. Zero Optic does a lot of like lens rehousing, and you just see little fun, intricate things about lenses. So and I try to follow like the big Leica, Kodak, and that's how you stay current, I think. But also I don't know what's gonna happen this year. I don't think we had one last year, but Cinegear is like the big expo.
Gotcha.
For the industry.
Okay.
Every summer. It's held at the Paramount lot. Yeah, I was a PA. I went to Cinegear 2019, and I think I had just joined, or I was in the process of joining the union, and I saw a bunch of camera systems, a couple of DPs I had worked with as a PA, and I was like, oh, hey, I'm getting in. What's going on, dude? What are you up to? This and that. But that's where everybody Cinegear kind of showcases all the gear, and it's really fun to go. I think it's like a whole day. Obviously, I don't know what it's going to be like in the new world in 2021.
Yeah.
But that's a really good way to stay current, and you just network with people. You just see so many different people there. There's so many. It's like all pop-up tents, and the stages are set up with all new camera gear, all the new cameras and lenses and lights and sound, everything.
Yeah.
Cinegear is kind of cool.
Nice.
Cinegear.
It sounds awesome. It sounds awesome. It sounds like NAB.
Yeah, exactly. It's like LA version of that.
So about that gear, we're going to ask about some tools of your trade. What gear or gadgets or even software, what are your favorite pieces of old gear, your old reliables?
Old reliable, like I've become a really big fan of like analog. So like writing stuff down. I think a good old reliable because we've been in a situation where you didn't have cell service. So you can't show, and this is more as a utility thing, like you can't show like, you're as a utility, you're supporting the camera department and it's like, well, oh crap, like, hey, is there anything I crafted? Like I'm starving, we can't get to lunch today. Like, usually you just go take a picture of the menu or whatever. This is what we have, send it out to the group. But just a little notepad comes in handy so much. Especially if you forget your cell phone somewhere, if you can't do something digital, which, it happens, nothing like a good little notepad, little flip pack in my belt, in my pouch.
Yeah.
That's all reliable, I think. And I love writing stuff down.
Yeah. Oh, I hear you on that one.
Any little note, I think it's all about, pen and paper or a little notepad and paper and pen. But Pancro, I love a good Pancro. It's a liquid to clean, a lens cleaner. You just clean a lens, clean a filter. And it also has alcohol in it, so it actually works as a sanitizer.
Oh.
If you're out of Sani,
all right,
spray a little spritz, you're good to go.
That's amazing.
But one of my new favorite pieces of gear right now is like the Teradek 10,000.
Okay.
Teradek they're like wireless video transmission and receiving.
Okay. So
the new Teradek 10,000s we were just playing with last week. They're awesome.
Yeah.
They work a lot better than the older ones. They just came out a couple years ago, I think. And it's just, they're good up to, I don't know where the 10,000 comes from. I can't remember if that's how much feet they're good up to. But it's a little antenna, about like a 1 foot by 1 foot antenna that connects and receives image from the cameras to the monitors.
Okay.
But I mean, they're awesome. We had them. Yeah, we're doing some driving stuff, and they're like not a mile away, but they're super far. Like it would never have worked with the old ones. Yeah. I'm really liking that so far, and I've seen those new Teradeks on a couple of shows. So that's probably my new favorite piece of tech.
So, all right, I got a question on that because, obviously you don't buy those personally, or do you?
Some people do.
There's like these, okay. Because I always thought that they were like the whole entire system was something that was rented from camera houses. Like rental houses.
Not always.
Not always.
Not always.
Dude.
No. So,
okay.
If you get it, and it's tricky. I think it's really hard. If you get into like the rental game, the rental business.
Yeah.
a lot of First ACs own their Preston unit, and Preston is just the company that makes the focus pulling unit.
Okay, yeah.
Focus hand unit to pull focus.
Yeah.
A lot of First ACs own their own Preston, but I've worked with plenty of them who just get it from Kessler or Panavision or whatever the rental house is.
Okay.
But if you own it, you're technically renting it to the show, so you're getting paid for that.
Another source of income. Got it.
Another source of income, yeah. But, you know, a brand new Preston is like, I don't know, 15 grand or something like that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it would pay for itself. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the same thing, but the same thing with the Teradeks. Like a lot of that's the DIT I was working with. He bought those. He bought the 3 Teradeks, and he's now renting it to the show.
Okay.
So he's getting that income as opposed to going to the rental house. So it just kind of depends.
Okay. So for people like you who are working with the equipment but don't necessarily have a chance to familiarize yourself with it beforehand, I'm like, how do you, I mean, is it just like, again, like you fake it until you make it and like you figure it out there on set and just kind of like read whatever manuals you can really quick? Or like, do you actually get a chance to get your hands on this equipment beforehand?
Like, for example, when the DIT, he just bought those new Teradeks. You know, we get them in like the day before they're going to be used or like a couple days before, and then you start pairing them and you start learning. So you definitely do get a moment. Whoever sells them, like there's a CSLA is Creative Solutions LA in Burbank. They sell a lot of the transmitting stuff. If you go there, they're really helpful. You kind of ask them like, hey, like what's this new like transmitter, this and that, and they'll kind of walk you through it. But it is hard to kind of do that if you're working all the time. And, you know, their hours are like, you know, we're 9 to 6.
Yeah,
it's like, well, dude, I'm on set. Like, when am I ever going to get there to check out this new transmitter?
Yeah.
I've done it once. You can just call a rental house, like, hey, like, you know, can I come by and check out the Alexa Mini? Like when the Alexa Mini first came out or something. And like people were you just go there and they have an open prep bay.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're really helpful, or they used to be.
Nice.
One of my DPs asked me, he's like, hey, you know, I'm doing a lens test at Panavision. You want to come? Like, just hang out and, you know, mess around with some lenses on a camera. I was like, heck yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
So you can ask that. And I remember asking them too. I was like, hey, like, we had a problem on this last show with the Teradek and the Paralinks, like these 2 different brands. And then basically what they told me, you know, that they helped me out with it. I was like, well, what happens is because they're on different frequencies, they're fighting each other, this, and that. So it's just another thing of just asking. You never know if you don't ask.
Yeah, so you do really do a lot to keep current. I mean, like you're actually going after the companies themselves and asking. I mean, like, and I guess maybe that's how it's actually done. And I'm just like sitting here in my closet. So
you can sign up for newsletters. I have to purge my email, but I still get a lot, like from Cinegear emails, and you know, like a couple of those companies still send out emails. So they'll tell you like Small HD, they make monitors, and now they have they have a partnership with Teradek now. So it's like, you know, I get that email and then you browse through it. You know, so yeah, it's a lot of your own work.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to do your own research, which kind of sucks, but also could be fun if you're into it. Like if you're kind of a gearhead and.
I mean, I'm interested in it. I'm not even in camera, so I'm like, oh yeah, this is super cool. Something like this exists. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
So we have a listener question from our Instagram. If you would like to ask your question, our Instagram is @PracticalFilmmaker. What is an unspoken rule that you never or always do as a camera assistant?
The first one that comes to mind is being on the radio, but I think it also works with a lot of departments, especially production. Just don't talk while you're rolling.
Yeah.
And it happens so often sometimes, you know, because focus pullers are focusing. Sometimes an operator's on radio, they're operating. You know, when I heard we were rolling and I heard somebody come on the radio and I saw the first AC just so frustrated to go, we're rolling. And, you know, and it's like, oh yeah, I should never talk on the radio when we're rolling. Even if it's kind of like a more laid back crew or a laid back show. Like just, I think that's one thing. Another thing is kind of eye lines. Not all actors are like this, but you slate, it's kind of courteous. And I seem to see it more with older ACs where they'll turn around. So you don't make eye contact with the actor for eye lines or anything like that if you have to be on set.
Gotcha. And
I've seen newer ACs kind of like just stand there and they're on their phone or, you know, and I think that's a good one. I think just turning around and not being in front of and that's an unspoken rule. Nobody's ever told me that, but I've seen it happen. I'm like, oh, okay, that's
okay.
So those are the first 2 that come up to mind.
Yeah. So how do people find you or follow your work?
I'm not famous. Hold on. Twitter is probably the easiest.
All right.
My Twitter username is at Mr. _ Zepeda, Zepeda _
Nice.
So Mr. Zepeda on Twitter and at Mr. Julius on Instagram.
All right.
If I get any followers, I promise I'll follow you back when I download the app again.
And the question that I ask every single guest that comes on, what question should I have asked you?
Oh, you know what? Maybe like what have I learned from transitioning like as a PA to a camera assistant? Like maybe.
Okay. I have heard that the first 4 years in the industry is essentially another college degree. That is you are a Hollywood freshman, a Hollywood sophomore, what have you. So my question is, what have you learned as a Hollywood senior?
It's funny you compare it to college. Not everybody has the luxury to go to college.
Yeah.
But I think that everybody at some point should be a PA.
Yeah.
You never know who you're going to end up working with.
Yeah.
And I learned as a PA, I think I touched on it, that people still hit me up for work as a PA. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm doing camera now. But even like 4 camera assistants that I still work with today were on that first job that I did as a PA. And you just, didn't even talk to them that much or whatnot, but we've done shows together now. And it's like, you just never know, like things come full circle. And I think you always just want to leave a good impression. Yeah. And one thing that I've been told that I definitely learned, actually, one thing that I've been told is you're only as good as your last day.
Yeah. Ooh.
People will only remember your last day. You could have been, super good. This happened recently. You could have been an awesome PA and awesome camera assistant. And then there's one day, this happened last week, a person bailed like 9 p.m. in the middle of, you can't replace somebody that easily anymore because you have to test 2 days beforehand or a day beforehand.
Yeah.
And he burned that bridge, unfortunately.
Dang.
And he was awesome the week before, but that was it. You're done. So you're only as good as your last day. That's definitely something I learned from PAing, and it works in every department. Yeah. No matter where you're at, you're only as good as your last day.
Gotcha. So
there you go.
You're in Hollywood grad school now. So what direction are you headed now?
So I turned 30 this year. The goal is to be camera operating by 35.
All right.
And all the while, when I was going to AD, the whole plan was AD and your work time and then off time, write and direct and try to produce my own shorts and fun projects. That's still the goal. So I'm still writing. I got a short that I'm DPing in 2 weeks. Okay. So I'm still trying to do that.
Nice.
So hopefully, yeah.
That's exciting still. That's awesome.
Our friend BJ said it's a rags to riches story. Yeah. I was like, BJ, it's like rags to less rags. So the next goal is to be rags to riches.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, LA is a place to make it happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It was awesome. You gave a lot of fantastic insider info.
I hope so.
I don't know. And it's great. I mean, I learned a lot, so I know other people will.
If I'm in any position to help, I still know a lot of, if you want a PA, if you want to learn, like I said, everybody I think should PA. You really easily find out what you don't want to do. Yeah. You reach out to me on Twitter. I still know ADs. I can get you some PA days. I can't promise anything in camera, but, reach out anyway. Shoot your shot, guys. I did.
Thanks for joining us. Be well and God bless. We'll see you next time on The Practical Filmmaker.